maybe. And maybe you recall this concept of target fat burning heart rate zone, right? And if you do recall that, maybe you remember that it was really low intensity cardio, like really low, you know, like strolling along. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, mind you, I was not that old, but this doesn't really make sense. I'm not working that hard. Exactly. So here's the idea. It's not an idea, here's the science, is that when we're training inefficiently, meaning not very hard, right? The body can utilize a higher percentage of fat calories for fuel. Whereas when we're training intensely, the body's like, man, I need energy and I need it now. So it's gonna use a higher percentage of glucose, which is fuel available in your blood, and glycogen, which is fuel, carbs, sugars, all that stuff that you've stored as fuel in your muscles and in your liver, right? So it's gonna use a higher percentage of glucose and glycogen calories when we're training more intensely. But here's where that science is no longer relevant. The bottom line is that calories in the form of glucose or glycogen that don't eventually get burned get stored in the fat cells anyway. Anyway, we know now that it's all about the overall amount of calories you burn that's going to lead to greater fat loss down the road. Not through starvation, mind you. We're talking about physical exertion, okay? So, what are the techniques that are gonna burn the most overall calories and elevate your metabolism through something called afterburn? So it's not just the physical exertion during the workout that's gonna require more energy, right? Burn more calories. It's also what's called the afterburn effect, or the trainers call it EPOC, but it's basically a fancy way of saying your body needs to rebuild, repair, recover, and return itself to the state that it was in before you were training. So not only do we need to get ourselves to a pre-lactate state, meaning get the heart rate down, get everything back to where you were before this intense physical state of exercise, but we also got to repair the muscles, repair the bone, which is all good stuff from the workout. So to make a long story short, how long can we elevate your metabolic rate after you train? What techniques are going to give us the greatest afterburn effect, the greatest elevated metabolism? Well, the good news is that the techniques that burn the most calories while you're doing them also burn the most calories after the workout's over. So we're looking for high intensity techniques. And there are three styles of training that are just gonna be the most effective. The first one is high intensity interval training. So maybe you guys remember Tabata protocol back in the day, which was 20 seconds on at 100% of your heart rate, 10 seconds recovering, 20 seconds on at 100%, and it was like a 4-minute protocol, I think. It was like 8 rounds through, I can't recall, 4 to 8 minutes. The bottom line is it was a 2 on, 1 off in HIIT training intervals, meaning 2 10-second intervals of intensity, one 10-second interval of recovery, so 2 to 1. Now you might be thinking, I'm not an advanced athlete, but I want that high intensity interval effect. You don't have to be an advanced athlete to do high intensity interval training. So the first thing is, think of it as follows. We've got 3 ratios. So 2 to 1, meaning 2 times the amount of work, 1 times the amount of recovery. So 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off is a perfect example, okay? Or 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off, right? Same concept. That's a 3 to 1. That's super crazy advanced. So if you're an insane athlete, you could do 3 to 1, which would be 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off. If you are a really strong intermediate to advanced athlete, you can do a 2 to 1, which is the 20-10, or you could go a 30-15, 30 seconds of work, 15 seconds of recovery, okay? Or even a 60-30, same concept. Now, if you're more intermediate, you can go 1 to 1. So 30 seconds of work, 30 seconds recovery, 20 seconds work, 20 seconds recovery, 60 seconds work, 60 seconds recovery. You get the idea. And if you're a super beginner, you're gonna live in the 1-2. So it's gonna be 10 seconds of work, 20 seconds of recovery, right? So just invert it. That's simple, so you get double the amount of recovery. Now, in addition, A beginner athlete is working off of their own heart rate, just like an advanced athlete. So intensity training works off of your heart rate. We want, when we're doing these high intensity intervals, to get to like 90 to 100% of our maximum heart rate. So that means you're gonna take your age and subtract it from the number 220, and that's your number. So if we've got a 30-year-old, okay, that would be 190 beats a minute. That is the max for that 30-year-old. So she's going, when her interval's on, whether it's a 2-to-1 ratio, a 1-to-1 ratio, she wants that heart rate at 190 beats a minute, or he or she. And then we recover for that 20 to 10 seconds, however long your recovery period is, right? And you go again. So you might be thinking, wait a second, I'm a 30-year-old beginner. How does this make sense if somebody's a 30-year-old advanced athlete? Well, what it's gonna take for that advanced athlete to get to 190 beats a minute is gonna be a hell of a lot more intense than the beginner. So I might have a beginner 30-year-old jogging at 5 miles an hour on a 2-degree incline, and they'll get to 190 beats a minute, whereas I might have an incredibly advanced 30-year-old athlete, and I might need them running at 12 miles an hour on a 5-degree incline to get the same heart rate. So it is unique to each individual based on your fitness level. That's what's going to indicate how much intensity it takes to get you to your max. So pick your ratio of work based on whether you're beginner. Remember, beginner is 2 times the recovery against 1 time the work. Intermediate, 1-to-1. Advanced, 2 times the work, 1 amount of the recovery. So 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off. Crazy advanced, 3-to-1. 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of recovery, right? And then you'll factor it off of your maximum heart rate, which is just 220 minus your age. So these intervals are done. It can be done running sprints in the street. It can be done on a bicycle. If you can't handle the impact of a lower body injury, you can get on a bike, right? You can do shadow boxing drills. That'll work. Jump roping, rowing, any interval that you might think of as originally like a cardio workout, something like a jump rope or sprinting, stair climbing, you're going at your max. So it's no longer a cardio workout, even though it is conditioning your cardiovascular system. It's a step further than that because it's taking it to your max with intervals. This is going to burn the most calories, along with another technique that I'll get to in 1 second, but that's because you are working at your max, right? Which requires a maximum amount of energy, and it's taxing your body in a very extreme way, which boosts your afterburn. Now, I do have a bunch of high intensity workouts in my app, high intensity interval training, but you don't need it. You can do what I'm telling you, right? I'd love for you to use it, but you can do jump roping 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off, right? You don't need it. Go on the street and run sprints. 15 seconds off, 30 seconds on. I just told you how to do it, okay? The last thing you need to know about intensity training is that it has an inverse relationship with the time you train. So if you're doing something low intensity like hiking, you're gonna hike for hours and be fine. You cannot do high intensity interval training for hours. So if you're doing high intensity interval training, I highly recommend you got a 5-minute warm up and a 5-minute cool down where you're stretching. 20 minutes of actual work is more than enough if you're training that intensely. Now, the second most effective technique is gonna be weight training. Now, resistance training works. Your body provides resistance. Your body is one of the most effective tools you can use. A push-up, a pull-up, a lunge, a squat, okay? So it's really not so much about having the added weight, although that's great and it trains the body. If you did, 100-pound squat versus 100 repetitions of a body squat, it's just gonna train different fibers. And it's great to do both. It's fantastic to do both. There has been a high-speed chase going on my street all day. It's like, I've tried to do this video. I swear to God, this is like the 50th time I've tried to record it, and I'm just going to leave this in now because I don't even have it. It's just my phone. I can't even edit it anyway. So both techniques are great. The one thing that I recommend when it comes to weight training is circuit training with your weight training. And what that means is that we're moving from each strength training exercise in swift succession. So we're not resting. So like, I don't know, maybe you've been that person at the gym, maybe you've seen that person at the gym. It's like, they do their set and then they sit there and they get on their phone, they screw around, they do a set, they rest. This is not like that. So if you've ever done any of my workouts, you see we're going from move to move to move to move. And I program my more beginner to intermediate workouts where we're saying, all right, let's do upper body, we're gonna do back, right? And we might do rows, and then we might do lunges. As the person gets more advanced, I'll consider having them do things that work multiple muscle groups at the same time. So we might do those rows, but in a plank position, or burpee rows, right? Getting more aggressive, utilizing more muscles at the same time because it requires more energy and it's more intense. But even as a beginner, you could do your rows by themselves and then lunges by themselves, but you keep your body moving the entire time. So that's the circuit training piece of this equation in conjunction with the resistance training. And again, there's no right or wrong way to do it. The idea is to stress the muscles. That's what we're doing. We're stressing them. You can do it with body weight. You can do it with heavier weights. And last but not least, if you really want to get crazy, you may notice with my workouts, I take all three of these techniques and I put them into one. So I take HIIT intervals and resistance training and free weights and circuit training, and I build them into a workout. So it might look like this. Let's say you're doing push-ups into weighted squats, goblet squats with a big heavy kettlebell, into jump squats. And I'll use the jump squats as my HIIT interval to really get that heart rate up. And then maybe between my circuits, I'll take a 30-second recovery if I'm building HIIT intervals into my strength training. So if you want results fast, it's going to be strength training, whether it's body weight, free weights, even machines done in a circuit style fashion. You can build HIIT intervals into your circuit. So it could be burpees, mountain climbers, jumping jacks, jump rope, wind sprints. Doesn't matter. You're getting that high intensity interval in, getting that heart rate up to your max, and then you can build a 30-second to a minute-long recovery in between circuits, depending upon your fitness level. But these are the techniques that are going to rip fat off of your body fast if that's your goal. They'll also get you fitter faster. You'll be in fantastic shape. There's nothing wrong with that.